Factoring trig expressions is just like factoring regular expressions. You can't let the sines, the cosines, the tangents, make it look a lot more harder than it is. It's really just basic factoring that we're doing. It's when they're set equal to 0 that you have a little bit more work. But cosine squared theta minus 5, cosine theta minus 6, what you can do is just kind of pretend cosine theta is x. So I could think of this just as x squared minus 5x minus 6, which is a very standard trinomial that we can factor to x minus 6 and x plus 1. And we should remember by this point that we can factor that, but thinking, all right, we'll multiply this to negative 6, what adds to negative 5, and that's how we're getting x minus 6 and x plus 1. If this were set equal to 0, we'd go further, but right now we're just focusing on the factoring. And so at this point now that it's factored, I'm just going to convert those x's back into cosine theta minus 6 and cosine theta plus 1. I mean, once you get pretty good at this, able to recognize what's happening, you don't even really need to convert it, to x and back and forth. But let's stick with this method for now. 1 minus sine squared theta on the top right. I'm going to make it 1 minus x squared. That's a dots. That's 1 plus x, 1 minus x. All right, well, that's going to be 1 plus sine theta and 1 minus sine theta. Sine theta cosine theta minus 3 sine theta. All right, you see nothing squared, so it's not a trinomial, it's not a dot, so hopefully you can recognize that this is going to be GCF. It's a binomial, and both parts have something in common. Both parts have a sign in common, so I could take out sine theta, and what's left over? Cosine theta minus 3. Now again, I could have turned sine into x and cosine into y and thought of it as, xy minus 3x and took out an x and made it y minus 3. It's the same thing. That's just basic factoring. Cosine squared minus 2 cosine theta. Again, I could think of it as x squared minus 2x if I want, but I recognize it's a GCF where I could take out the cosine theta. I'm going to be left with cosine theta minus 2.